Tonight, a sexual exploitation business behind Miami's nightlife.
After crime rate increases, a North Miami community fights back.
And controversy with cultural stereotypes in Miami's melting pot.
Bay News starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to Bay News. I'm James Perfetto.
And I'm Leonis Diaz. Miami is known as the Magic City, yet even with all the glitz and glamour of the movies, there's an ugly underbelly of vices that controls and changes lives. And it's all hiding in plain sight.
Our reporter Kimberly Rivera has the details.
Miami attracts many visitors with its beaches and nightlife, but underneath this scenery lies a darker reality. It's a top destination for human trafficking in the United States.
Unfortunately, there's an underbelly, and to anything that's a gem, there's always an underbelly, unfortunately, and that's where human trafficking comes in.
Florida ranks the third busiest area for sex trafficking in the U.S. More than 1,000 calls have been made to the human trafficking hotline just this year. The men selling these women in various locations are often called pimps, but the state attorney describes them differently.
The predators know exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for a lost soul. They're looking for someone who looks sad and lonely, because they are.
Executive Director Don Thompson of Christie House, a center dedicated to ending sexual child abuse, explains why some victims are hesitant towards receiving treatment.
These are children who've never had a really safe place. That anybody who shows any kindness to them usually wants something from them. They often convince themselves that this trafficker, this person who's coerced them into this situation, is their boyfriend, is their caretaker, and that they really are bonded to this person.
It's important that these victims are placed into therapy once they're rescued, as they may be required to testify their story in front of a court.
The justice system may, at some point, require her to sit in a room with these horrible people and remember the horrible things they did.
Assistant State Attorney Susan Dekovitz recognizes the dangerous consequences of a minor reliving her trauma through testifying and questioning of attorneys.
One of our victims was being deposed, and when she left that deposition, she tried to kill herself by drinking Clorox, because that's all she could get her hands on. Is that an acceptable consequence? Obviously not.
Community efforts from local agencies provide critical resources for trafficked victims. The Assistant State Attorney believes it's important to offer them a different path to life.
This is a critically important aspect of this, because if you leave a shelter and you still feel desperate, you can't feed yourself, what are you going to do? You're going to end up relapsing and either going back to that trafficker, who will probably try to re-victimize you if they're still free on the street, or to some other predator who's going to come after you.
If you or someone know a victim of human trafficking, you're urged to call the number down below. For Bay News, this is Kim Rivera.
Thank you, Kim, for the coverage. A proactive community is fighting back against crime. Two local nonprofit organizations right here in North Miami are helping to get juveniles out of gangs. Bay News reporter Jackie Johnson tells us how.
Like many urban areas in South Florida, North Miami has its share of problems. Its violent crime rate is more than double Florida's average, and juvenile arrests went up 24% last year.
2 people have been shot and have been taken to the hospital.
To deal with this issue and help kids get back on track, the Family Impressions Foundation and Police Athletic League keep them busy outside of school.
Recently settled into the 2 portables behind me at Oak Grove Elementary is Family Impressions, a foundation that provides support and counseling for at-risk youth and their parents in North Miami. Their services include after-school programs, community service, and recreational field trips.
The director of Family Impressions is Ms. Shirley Planton, a law graduate and Florida gang investigator of Haitian descent. She advocates against juvenile delinquency with the ability to turn at-risk youth into productive citizens.
We realized we're losing our kids, and I decided to do something positive with all the education that I got.
The organization partners with 8 different schools, the Juvenile Assessment Center, and multiple communities. Planton says majority of their referrals come through schools due to plummeting grades.
I come in, do my homework, study. What else? Talk to Miss Shirley when I need help. School.
Some circumstances, however, are more serious than others.
So he helped me come to the program. I was doing bad in the street, stuff like that. So when I talked to him, he made me talk to Miss Shirley. So that kind of changed my life. I was doing F in school. She had me doing A's and B's now. I'm getting better.
Clifford dreams to go to college to study criminal justice or become a football player.
The problems that we have with parental support in our community is that these are people who are migrating into this country. So they're bringing with them, of course, all of the values that they have at home, all of their beliefs, their cultures, all the good things. But part of it is the assimilation isn't happening. The acculturation isn't happening.
Another program doing its part for the community is the Police Athletic League. Through the use of boxing and weight training, PAL is the escape from neighborhood fights. Director Officer Stewart encourages positive relationships with the kids to keep them out of trouble.
North Miami, with our PAL program, we provide community service hours, scholarship training for kids that want to go to college. We provide all these training. We let them know that there are options. And if you're an attentive ear and giving them encouraging and give them positive advice and not talking down to them and talking to them, you become welcoming to them.
Both foundations have high success rates in high school graduates, and former members return to lend a hand. With help from the community, these organizations commit to making North Miami a safe and fun place to live. I'm Jackie Johnson for Bay News.
Thank you, Jackie. Home to almost every race, culture, country, and nationality, Miami is a melting pot of what some may label as lazy drug dealers, drug users, raft riders, cat eaters, and job stealers. With this melting pot of people also came a melting pot of stereotypes. Immigrants in search of the American dream and natives alike are faced with overcoming them in their everyday lives.
I'm from Mexico, and I guess the stereotype I've been facing lately is with what's going on with Donald Trump is that, all Mexicans are illegal and, that we're criminals.
Some stereotypes that I get the most for being Haitian is they ask me if I practice voodoo or if I ever seen anything associated with voodoo or zombies or stuff like that. Something that I get a lot also is, do I eat cat?
That is how we make sense of the world, using schemas and scripts and stereotypes and assumptions and beliefs and past experience. In an ideal world, it may be possible for us to treat each person we encounter and each situation we encounter as unique and treat each person as truly an individual.
Treating others as individuals may be the solution. Unfortunately, stereotypes aren't going anywhere anytime soon, and as the immigrant population continues to grow in Miami, stereotypes are only going to become harder to deal with. Back to you, James.
Thank you, Leonis. And coming up next, should Spanish be the official language of Miami, or should Spanish-speaking immigrants just speak English? We have special guests joining us for our panel discussion, and let us know what you think via Twitter at BayNewsFIU.
I'm going to do my graduate research in the Amazon, then bring what I have learned back to my community.
I'm going to run for Congress.
I'm going to start a company in China.
I'm going to create something no one has ever seen before.
I'm going to dream it,
then do it.
And from here on out,
for the rest of my life,
I'm going to be a panther.
A panther.
An FIU panther.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us via Twitter and letting us know your opinions about bilingualism in Miami. Our panel discussion on this subject starts now. Miami is often called the capital of Latin America or even northern Cuba. In some parts of Miami, everywhere you turn, you hear someone speaking Spanish. With 66% of the population being Hispanic, Miami can be a comfortable place if you speak Spanish. But for those who don't, you tend to feel left out. Language in South Florida can be a hot topic. Some say that English should be spoken as this is America, but when immigrants attempt to speak English, they get made fun of. To help us discuss this issue, we have two guests from FIU's Biscayne Bay campus, Sonia Anderson, who is the office manager for the Multicultural Programs and Services Department, and Katie Ann Franco, a graduate student at FIU, and the marketing assistant for the Campus Life office. Welcome to our show, ladies, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Katie Ann, so from my understanding, you speak Spanish and English, and Sonia, you only speak English, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So can you tell me a little bit about your experience living and working in Miami?
When I'm driving around my community, I've noticed, in specific parts in Miami, of course, some businesses will just be Spanish only. You'll see it in the signs. You'll see it like if there's a little cafeteria and they'll have the menu outside. It'll say, sometimes the sandwich word is even misspelled, like sandwich. But, you know, it's just, it's part of, I think that's what makes Miami so unique, so diverse.
And what about you, Sonia?
I'm from Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
And I had not had the experience of different languages, different cultures. Everyone was treating everyone the same with respect, and we all spoke, everyone spoke English. When I moved here, then it was a culture shock because it was Spanish and it was difficult, and they were, it was expected of you to know both, and if you didn't, they made you feel some kind of way. So I had to get used to that, and I chose, and then going up to my area where I looked for jobs, I chose places that were more diverse because I wanted to be a part of and learn as well and just make diverse because Miami is diverse.
I do feel, picking up on Sonia, that like you said, we are diverse, and I do feel that there are people that are only speak Spanish that come here that are trying, and you see that. You see the effort of people trying to speak English. And then there's the people that speak English that make an effort to learn and understand the Spanish. But then you're going to have always your middle ground where people refuse to either side. But the fact that there's still people that are willing, and you know, both sides are willing to come kind of like learn with each other, that I think makes a difference. Because I remember there was once a YouTube video that went viral about this lady in IHOP that she was telling the waitress, like, speak English, and you know, this lady is trying, and that alone speaks millions, you know.
And Katie, speaking Spanish here in Miami, where it seems like it's the dominant language, how would you say your experience has been maybe looking for jobs or looking into other opportunities?
Definitely, I've noticed when I'm applying for jobs, I see it, you know, you're going to see in the specifications, bilingual is preferred. I see why the whole being bilingual here is kind of like what's most wanted. And I mean, my internship experience and prior employers, I've had to use that Spanish at some point or another, whether it was spoken, some writing, but mainly I would say being able to communicate with other people for it.
Finishing high school, I'll start there, and had to get out in the working world. I became a single parent early. It was hard for me seeking a job because it was bilingual. You couldn't find a decent paying job unless you were bilingual. And I admit it did make me feel some kind of way because I took it as I was born here, and why would I have to go outside of to get paid decent with my experience that I had to offer.
Definitely. A couple of weeks ago, Donald Trump was reported saying to Jeb Bush that he should set an example and speak English because we are in America. What do you guys think of that? Do you want to go ahead and start, Sonia?
Okay. My opinion and how I feel about Donald Trump is he's disrespectful. He doesn't care about how he says what he says about women and different ethnic groups. And so he's just, as far as politics, he's just there just to be heard, and
what about you, Kitty Ann?
He's negative.
How I understand why Jeb Bush did what he did. He could be for many different reasons. It could be, you know, out of respect for the child who was speaking to him in Spanish. It could be because maybe he is targeting Spanish speakers. And Spanish, believe it or not, it's one of the top 4 languages in the world, apart from Mandarin and apart from Hindu, I think it was. So speaking English and Spanish, I don't see how that could be a barrier. I understand the other route where people are coming from, where they say that, you know, you're living in the United States of America, English is the dominant language, and you're representing America, that's what you need to speak. But again, like I said, it could go many different routes, but I understand, I think I'm a little bit more with the understanding of appealing to more than just one general audience, probably appealing more to a specific demographic and more to the masses, really.
What advice do you have for those people who are currently dealing with language barriers?
For someone who speaks Spanish that's trying to learn English, I would say definitely keep at it. Your effort will go noticed. Yes, it takes time, but when you start conversing with other people, it will help at the end of it all, even if you know just the basics for right now. But just keep at it and don't give up, because there will be opportunities out there for you, for sure.
And for me, yes, just continue, don't give up. And there's jobs and people out there, there's opportunities for you.
Katie Ann and Sonia, thank you so much for joining us on our show today. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
I'm gonna engineer something to withstand hurricane force winds.
I'm going to run for Congress.
I'm going to start a company in China.
I'm gonna do my graduate research inside the world's only underwater sea lab.
I'm gonna dream it.
Then do it.
And from here on out,
For the rest of my life.
I'm gonna be a panther.
A panther.
An FIU Panther.
Bay News brings you a traffic update. There is complete standstill on the turnpike heading south due to construction blockage. The Palmetto and the 836 or Dolphin Expressway remain free of traffic. And now we continue with James at the studio.
It's no surprise younger generations in South Florida are more accepting of interracial relationships. You probably know someone who's in one, but some people still say no to mixing races.
24-year-old Chelsea Jean says she's only ever dated men outside of her race.
I don't see anything wrong with love. At the end of the day, I don't see race, honestly, to be very frank with you. I don't see race, I don't see color, I see a person. And because if I'm attracted to a person and they just so happen to be white, then so be it.
But she isn't the only person who thinks this way. Dimphion and Jen Missick are married. They have a baby boy named Davian.
My mom is Hispanic and my dad is white, so I myself am already culturally diverse.
Dimphion says their families approved of their relationship from day one.
No, in my family it was for the relationship. My mother always taught me and told me when I was younger that if you can't find love within your own race and you have to venture out to go look for love, my mother told me to go ahead and do it. My father also.
And Jen says she pays no mind to those watchful eyes.
From the community, really no one had ever said anything to us personally. Maybe they have thought things. I do feel like we get looks sometimes, you know?
But unlike the Missicks, Chelsea says her relationships haven't been seen in such a positive light.
One day, with my, significant other at the time, I said, why don't we just go, in the middle of Davie, all this country music was playing, let's go. And I kid you not, I think everyone in the restaurant was looking at us. I actually recall maybe a waitress rolling her eyes at us.
For those struggling with society's pressure,
you have to be confident about it.
Yeah.
When you're confident about it and you say, this is my partner, this is the person that I love, it doesn't matter who anyone says, because the more confident you are, the more people don't really have a choice but to accept it.
As for Dimphion, his advice is simply,
pay them no attention. Love conquers all.
After the interview, both Jen and Dimphion told me that they intend to raise their child the same way they were raised, to love, regardless of race.
That's definitely admirable.
I know it is.
For an infographic with more information on the state of race and marriage, check out our website, baynews.tv.
And our reporter Fiorella Samaniego visited one of Miami's most historic neighborhoods. She investigates how this community is under threat.
Little Havana, or La Pequeña Habana, is home to many first-time immigrants in Miami. Known for its Cuban heritage that goes back to the 1950s, new development is threatening the area that for so long wrote Miami's history and is still providing affordable homes to many immigrants.
Little Havana is like Plymouth Rock. It was the place that people came when they first landed in the United States, and they kissed that rock and were thankful to be on shore. Well, that's what Little Havana has been to the many immigrants who have come here, not just Cubans, but immigrants of all types over many decades.
These residents have lived in the area since the 1960s and believe that it's the politicians who need to protect and preserve this vital part of Miami's history.
Anything that you change, it will never go back to what it used to be. It's going into the future, but again, that the burden of this is to the politicians, not to allow to the big companies or people come and build big buildings here and just leave it like this.
The city of Miami is pushing an upzoning code with the purpose to revitalize and fix outdated buildings in the neighborhood.
There is some kind of misconception about the upzoning. Those apartment buildings needs some help, and the landlords most of them absentee landlords, do not take care of those apartment buildings.
Some residents and historical activists fear the proposed code will allow new development to overtake the community, failing to protect its historic and architectural legacy.
We're not against development. We are in favor of responsible development that considers the environment in which it is to be located.
That's why the Preservation and Zoning Department of the City of Miami follows certain criteria before designating a historic district.
They have to be at least 50 years old or older. They have to have some kind of important architectural style. So what that means is that the buildings have to be intact.
It is about preserving the character of the area, and the ultimate result would be the area, as fully developed, would have a significant remnant of historic buildings that give it the character, and a significant contingent of new buildings that respond to today's demands.
Although some residents are concerned with the upzoning, others believe it will bring positive changes.
Muchas partes de aquí de la pequeña Habana todo se va a hacer todo nuevo. Hasta las calles van a haber divisiones. Estuve oyendo unas conversaciones. Anteriormente estuve viendo unas conversaciones que van a haber unas divisiones en las mismas calles donde van a poner jardines. Todo va a estar moderno.
City of Miami commissioners will meet for a second hearing to discuss the future of Little Havana. This is Fiorella Samaniego for Bay News.
Thank you, Fiorella.
Historic Overtown has slowly been dismantled since the construction of the I-95 back in the 60s. Ongoing development has increased property values, which has pushed out a lot of its residents.
Now we meet a local nonprofit whose purpose is to make sure the new construction does not push the locals away and provides opportunity for the community. Marcela Mendoza has the story.
This was the original project. This is my vision board here.
Derek Cole has been living in Overtown for the past 15 years. His personal attachment to the neighborhood and passion for giving back to the community has taken him to come up with Lofty Ideas, a nonprofit organization that is currently pushing construction projects to developers.
We're trying to revitalize that cultural richness that they have and kind of prevent from losing that.
His volunteer crew, mostly the local youth, put Derek's idea into 3D models. This one, for example, is the vision for the park located right underneath I-395.
395 Live is underneath 395. They're getting ready to demolish and rebuild it. It should be completed in about 5 years, and I want to be assured that the Overtown community will end up controlling the space underneath there and not a private for-profit developer. I want the Overtown community to own small businesses that'll be underneath here, connecting Overtown to World Center.
The park has now been closed for the past 10 years with the same construction sign. Another of his projects consists of the renovation of the park located off I-95. Even having the restriction sign, it currently houses homeless people. Derek's plans consist of a low-income housing project that will also have a designated commercial area, promoting local hiring.
Well, my goal for Overtown is to keep it a historic African-American community. It always has been. Why not? People have just lost hope. And I'm trying to generate hope and get some projects going that'll create the equity that's necessary.
The people have been forgotten. There's not enough revenue streams for the youth or like ownership. People don't have no business to own. So for him, having these concepts just to bring ownership so people can own their land means a lot.
Pushing out historic communities like nearby Wynwood, local government has been able to raise property taxes, consequently favoring higher income residents. Like Lofty Ideas, many other groups have taken a stand against gentrification with the hopes that the Overtown community doesn't vanish. But trying to get the attention from developers is not easy, as profits are so important for some. Reporting from historic Overtown, this is Marcela Mendoza.
Thank you, Marcela. Communities in Miami are diverse, unique, and offer homes for those of all shapes and sizes. Most people feel at home in their communities, but there are some who feel race and ethnicity play a part in how they identify with their neighbors.
I was born here, but my heritage is Jamaican.
So I'm actually white. My ethnicity would be Jewish American.
I currently live in Pembroke Pines, but I live on the border of Miramar as well, and we have a lot of Caribbean residents there.
So I live on 1575 College Drive. It's in Miami Beach. It's a very conservative community.
I'm able just to blend in knowing the fact that we have our Caribbean roots over there, but we're still American. We still deal with the American things that happen over here.
That's how students feel they fit in according to their ethnicity. And one expert says race is now taking a back seat.
I think ethnicity matters a lot in Miami. It matters a significant amount. And I think in Miami, ethnicity trumps race.
For a photo slide on this topic, check out our website, baynews.tv.
And this concludes Bay News. Remember to follow us on our social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay connected with us 24/7.
Thank you for being with us. We'll see you again tomorrow.